Now, the government has promised Aussie workers some pretty healthy tax cuts if it can get its relief package through, which sounds like great news, but the devil is in the detail.
You've got to wonder what message, if at all, the Labor Party heard from the federal election that occurred just 5 weeks ago.
With an election victory behind them and a stagnant economy ahead of them, the government is keen to get its three-stage tax package sorted. There's only one thing stopping them.
The government's economy is not working for Middle Australia. Things are genuinely troubling.
Labor's actually ready to support most of the government's plan, particularly Stage 1, which sees people on less than $126,000 get up to $1,080 back in their wallets. This is the part everyone loves, and if all goes to plan, this refund should be good to go by tax time next week. Stage 2 will see the middle bracket ceiling raised from $90,000 to $120,000 starting in 2022, which means people below $120,000 will get up to $1,350 back. Labor was initially against this, is now for it and wants it done even sooner.
Stage 2, we're calling for the government to bring that forward to 2019-2020.
Stage 3 removes the highest 37% rate and flattens the 32.5% rate to 30, starting in 2024.
Stage 3 costs $95 billion over 5 years, so it is fiscally reckless. You're better off giving it to low and middle income earners.
Stage 3 would see someone earning more than $200,000 get a whopping $11,000 back in the tank.
So all they're going to do is further overcompensate people for bracket creep. The reality is, bracket creep is not a problem, and it hasn't been a problem for many, many years.
All this talk of bracket creep and offset sounds confusing, but it's actually quite simple.
Imagine, if you will, that this balloon is bracket creep. This orange is a tax offset, and this car is a low-income worker.
Thanks, Pete. Actually, bracket creep is when tax brackets don't move with inflation, but your wage does. You're no richer, but you're being taxed as if you are. So, as the economy hits the rocks and Aussies do it tough, will we get the tax relief we need without racking up a national debt we'll live to regret?
You saw him in that story there, and he joins us now. So ultimately, the controversy here boils down to that one big tax bracket in the Stage 3 of the cuts. So that bracket would then span people who are earning $45,000 right through to people earning $200,000. Can you explain to us why someone who would be on, say, $47,000 a year should have the same marginal tax rate as someone who's on $198,000 a year?
Well, Waleed, firstly, those thresholds have already been legislated, so that's not really in contention. The Parliament already passed those reforms before the election. But to answer your question there, obviously somebody who's on $47,000 a year would be paying, under the currently legislated rates, 32.5 cents on the dollar in just $2,000 worth of their earnings. Whereas the person on $200,000 is going to be paying that 32.5 cents in the dollar on some $160,000 worth of their earnings. So that's the way the marginal tax rate system works.
But just on your point about the marginal tax rate and how it only affects the bit over the threshold you are, I understand that, but that's effectively like arguing that everyone should just have a flat tax and you more or less get taxed the same across. It's the size of that bracket is so huge that it captures people who are in completely different life circumstances. Just going back to first principles, how is that justified?
And so essentially somebody who's earning close to $200,000 will be paying, in terms of their effective marginal tax rate, somewhere just above 30 cents in the dollar. But for somebody who's earning less than that, much less than that, just around that $47,000 figure that you gave, well, their effective marginal tax rate is, of course, going to be somewhere in the teens at highest.
No, I understand that, but the reason we have these tax brackets and they step up like that is that we accept that people who are at the top end should have a higher marginal tax rate, not just effective tax rate, but a higher marginal tax rate. This seems to be trying to undo that basic idea, which has been at the heart of our tax system for a long time. I'm just wondering philosophically what the point of that is.
Well, it's not. And what it's trying to do is make sure that Australia has about the same number of steps as comparable countries around the world and similar tax rates. Having a big, broad tax rate for those who are essentially earning middle incomes is to ensure that if you get a promotion, if you do a bit of extra overtime, you're not going to suddenly be pushed into a higher tax bracket.
Burmo, we've had our cameras following you around for a couple of days, mate. I just want to show you a couple of things that I noticed. Have a look. This is you after a press conference here, trying to walk through a door or find a door. This is, I think, you today, and you can't get in. Now, Burmo,
I'm having a run.
I have to ask the question, should Aussies have faith that you're the man to deliver these tax cuts if you can't walk through a door?
Pete, you know, obviously a few, you know, sliding doors moments that went a little wrong there, but I think, you know, Australians want their tax relief. They want to pay less tax, and I've just got to make sure that I check the doors are unlocked in future clearly.
Surely the last thing you could call them was sliding doors moments.
Unsliding doors. That maybe was your first mistake.
Looking for, you know, we've got some sliding doors in the office. I might need to get them installed elsewhere. That's what I'm used to, clearly.
Senator, thank you very much for your time tonight.
Thanks, Joe.